Everybody, for this one I'm in the kitchen, but let's talk about the Bryston B100 SST integrated amplifier. I picked this up recently. I got it for a great price. I've always wanted a Bryston piece. I've heard a few over the year, their newer Cube series, and was always impressed with the power and just the drive, and just the whole build quality is absolutely fantastic with these and their products in general. And of course, you know, they offer a 20-year warranty and so on and so forth. This being the B100, it is a bit of an older model. I believe these came out in 2005 or 6, somewhere in there. I'm not sure exactly when mine was made. I've been meaning to call Bryston to ask them, but in any case, works perfectly, no issues. There is an issue with the graphics, as you might be able to see. And let me see if I can move you in a little bit closer here. Sorry about the movement, but some of the wording is kind of rubbed off on kind of what you're doing. But you know, you can kind of figure it out that this is aux 2, that's aux 1, CD. That one's tuner, TV, video. Pretty straightforward, not really complicated. It is kind of a heavier unit. It does weigh about 30 pounds. And let's see if I can turn it around. Oh, geez. Round back is equally fairly straightforward, pretty conventional. Of course, you do have left and right, or I should say left and right, completely separated inputs, which can make, if you have certain cables that are kind of joined towards the end, make them almost impossible to use. So you do want to make sure you have some separate cables. Great quality binding posts, and these are truly 5-way binding posts. You can use lugs, you can use bare wire, and of course banana plugs is how I used them. Now it is a versatile integrated amp in the sense, of course, it has numerous inputs. This one is the base model that doesn't have the phono stage, nor does it have the built-in DAC. Now as you can see, it does have a couple of optical inputs, but those are not active unless you have the built-in DAC. This one doesn't, so they don't work. It does have a 12-volt trigger adapter here, as well as an RS-232 network, or excuse me, a home automation connector. But yeah, pretty straightforward, and as I said, very versatile. It does have a fully active tape loop, in the sense that this is a traditional tape loop and an actual tape monitor. You can switch inputs while you have the record in monitor on, so you can record different things out and listen back to it if you've got a reel-to-reel or a nice cassette deck. You can separate the preamp and power amp sections, so you can use it as a power amp, and it works very well in that guise. You can also use it as a preamp. But anyway, let's talk about the sound. Sound quality with this is very, very tough to explain. It's tough to explain because I've heard their newer stuff, and their newer stuff, in my opinion, sounds warm sounding. Now, still very precise, and of course, if you understand Bryston or you've ever heard any of their components, you'll know they have a great reputation for neutrality. And some people will even go so far as to say neutrality to the point of sterility. And of course, rightfully so. This thing, I think, came at the generation where they were kind of a halfway house. They were kind of getting away from the old, maybe cold, sterile sound and moving into kind of more of a warmer, more intimate sound. And much like their newer Cube series that I've heard. I heard their Cube power amp. It was just the lowest one that they make. I think it's the 2B3 or something like that, cubed. I heard that one, I think it was. But in any case, you know, that was a very lovely sound, very approachable, very palatable, very easy to listen to, very mellow, but with great power and precision and just great image placement. And this does all of that too. It does all of that too. And matter of fact, the first time I plugged this thing in my house and listened to it, it almost was like someone had like an old receiver with the bass boost button, and they hit the bass boost button, and that's what this thing did. I instantly noticed this huge jump in bass quality and bass loudness. The bass really came alive, truly came alive through this thing. And it's really its standout feature is its bass performance. Mid-range is kind of slightly thin, but thin in the sense of not weight, but more color saturation. You know, sometimes if you're listening to jazz, for example, and you've got like a trombonist and a saxophonist and a trumpet player, sometimes, depending upon your perception, those instruments can kind of come across as having a similar sound. And through a good system, of course, they're with great timbre and great tone and texture, you can definitely delineate between those instruments and their actual sound. With this, sometimes that tonal color felt more gray. It felt like it wasn't quite as able to pinpoint which one was the trumpet, which one was the saxophone, which one was the trombone, and so on and so forth. Not always, but sometimes I really kind of felt it was more recording dependent as opposed to actual, just as a general rule. Imaging, lockstep, I mean, very, very bam, bam, bam. Great left and right separation here. Really, truly some of the best I've heard in recent memory. Really fantastic left to right balance here. Left is left, right is right, and you get great, even at the lowest volume levels. It's phenomenal. Now, it doesn't have a relay attenuator in it. It uses a different electronic style attenuator, but very, very nice and very, very well made in that respect. And you get great imaging and great left to right balance as a result. But yeah, let's talk about the cons. Big con with the B100 SST is its sterility. Now, I don't want to use the word sterile. I want to use the word neutral. And neutral to the point where it almost becomes sterile. And I noticed it with certain, kind of as I said, with sort of that mid-range color issue. It kind of comes with certain recordings more so than other recordings. And it really is just recording dependent. And, you know, to me, I don't really like that. I like my music to always sound great in the way that I enjoy listening to it, right? Now, that's not necessarily a con. Again, I mean, it kind of is, but, you know, it kind of reminds me of the earlier generation Cambridge audio, if you know what I mean. The older CXA 60 and the older CXA 80 and some of their older, what was it, the Azure what was it, the 251, the bigger integrated amp that they used to make that was about $1,700. Those amps always came across very neutral sounding to me. And their idea was, you know, Cambridge Audio's idea was letting the music flow through without any alteration, right? And I believe that they achieved that. Matter of fact, on the new Cambridge Audio amplifiers like the CXA 61 and CXA 81, and now of course they have the newer AX 100, those I think have went to more of a warmer, let's call it a vintage sound. And this definitely reminds me very much of that earlier Cambridge sound. Very neutral, very just letting the music flow without any impedance and without any coloration or changing it. Now, of course, a lot of people will say, well, I like that. I want that in my music. And you can modify that a little bit by doing things like speakers. Now, I did try it with some different speakers. I preferred it the most with my vintage realistic speakers that came out in 1970. And the reason I preferred it with the vintage realistic speakers, my Nova 8s, is because they're kind of warm and lush sounding, and this played to that, you know, it kind of balanced it out. But yeah, it's definitely a con in my opinion, you know, but I don't want to say it's a con because I think at the end of the day, sound quality perspective like that is really more of a personal taste thing. It's like going to a restaurant and somebody ordering a steak and then putting ketchup on it. You might not like that. You might not think that that's purity or something. But some people do like putting ketchup on their steak. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Overall, a fantastic integrated amp. Certainly not to my taste, but that doesn't make it any less relevant. And of course, the legendary Bryston build quality, which I didn't really get into a whole lot, but yeah, very, very well built, very, very well made. Definitely so. You know, and of course, you can pick these up for about $1,000, $1,200. I got mine for slightly cheaper than that because of the worn off lettering. I actually picked it up locally. I got a great deal on it. And yeah, I mean, truly brilliant, great bass performance, great sound staging. I mean, you really can't beat it, I don't think, for that price on the used market, you know, in terms of getting a better performance, in terms of the technical aspects of hi-fi. Now that said though, as I said, it isn't necessarily to my taste, but you know, is what it is. But yeah, that said, I'm glad I picked this up. I'm glad I was able to check it out and enjoy it and kind of learn more about the Bryston sound. I will kind of cover that one more time and say that I think with the newer Cube series of Bryston, which I've heard one of their power amps, it was hooked up, I want to say it was hooked up to a Luxman preamp, I want to say. But anyway, I do think they've changed their sound, much like Cambridge Audio has, in the sense of they've kind of went for more of a warmer, more of a fuller sound, more of a palatable sound, that type of thing. But yeah, definitely interesting, great build quality. Of course, you get the 20-year warranty with these. This thing's actually still under warranty, believe it or not. So very, very amazing right there. And that warranty's transferable, but this thing doesn't have any problems. They're renowned for their longevity. I remember reading, I was reading a thing online of a guy had one of these that he had bought when they came out. Oh, I had, and then he sold it. He's like, oh, I finally got, and on the forum he was talking about his experience with it, and he said, well, oh, I just sold it a couple of years ago, and I decided to leave the thing on constantly, and apparently he left it on for a decade, literally powered up for a decade. And I find that amazing. And he said, never had a problem with it. And I finally just sold it. But yeah, that really speaks to the Bryston build quality and longevity. But anyway, stay tuned. Peace out. We're going to do the iFi Audio Diablo 2 video after a while.